I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
Hey family, boom, 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 boom. Welcome back to Perspective with Itu. And of course, darling, another esteemed, amazing guest. On today's episode of Welcome to Perspective with Itu, we have a special guest, Noni Ditshego, the CEO and co-founder of various companies operating in diverse sectors of their economy. One of her notable creations is associated with Vuttomi Group, an origin and orientation-based South African company that has given rise to multiple subsidiary companies in areas such as social housing, aviation, and beverages, darling. And you don't know what we have here today. We've got gin upon gin upon gin upon gin, because today we're going to come and talk with this amazing lady who has got various ranges of gin. So without further ado, Nani, welcome to Perspective with Itu.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Nani, so we're going to get to the gin much later on, because I want us to end with a party, darling. Huh? With a bag. All right, so before we get there, we want to get to know who Nani is. Who is Nani? Where was Nani born?
Noni was born in the dusty roads of Mabopane in Pretoria North. And I was raised by my mom and my dad, serial entrepreneurs, very strong people. I matriculated matric in 93 in Kingsmead. And then I went to Burnham Business College, which is now on Collet Drive, is no longer there. And then I did my travel and tourism diploma at Burnham. And then I also did my teacher's diploma with Trinity College of London, and I did my speech and drama Trinity College diploma with them. And then what? Career.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. And then I tried to find work related to travel and tourism. That was a bit difficult because I think the market was not ready for Black people then. And I tried and I struggled. The first job I got was at the airport at the VAT refund. And I did that, I think, for a year. And then I moved on. I went and worked for a company in Midrand. Then I worked for MWeb. From MWeb, I've always had two jobs. I had MWeb, and then in the evening I used to work at MTN.
Wow.
As a customer service. And then, and I think my parents should have figured it out then. There was some chemical imbalance, but obviously they didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
And then I've always had two jobs. And then I left MTN. No, MTN I didn't leave. I left MultiChoice because the company closed down and then we got retrenched. And then I worked for Nashua Nettel. Then I worked for AutoPage, still working for MTN in the evening.
Wow.
Eventually, I bought a house in Midrand when I was about, I think, 24 at Stonebridge here in Noordwijk. And then I fell pregnant. And then my husband and I, my late husband, got married. And then from maternity leave, I just didn't go back to work. And I said, okay, guys, I think I'm done. I don't want to see you guys anymore. So I wrote my resignation letter when I came back from hospital, and I asked my husband to go drop it off. And then they asked me for an exit interview, and I wouldn't do it. And I said, no, because I'm good. And then I started a company, Red Lakes Properties, which my late husband and I owned. And it specifically dealt with student accommodation. We bought properties, rented it out, put in students, rented it out. That went on for a while, and then I bought a franchise of Bond Masters, which was a bond origination company. And then eventually I bought a Fine and Country franchise, which is a real estate company. But that didn't go too well. It went pear-shaped because when we entered the market, it was a bit rough. And I think also the branch that they gave me, because I took up Sandton CBD. And at the time when I came in, white people were not willing to give black people mandates.
Okay.
And the people that were buying in Sandton were a lot of foreigners, and they didn't trust buying from black people. So that didn't go too well.
Sure.
And then the property market crashed. And then I registered another company, Vuttomi Group, which was supposed to be a development company, but dealing with low-end and entry-level type of developments. We did that. And then eventually we registered with SHRA, which is a social housing regulating authority, to get accredited to be able to build social housing, and we got that accreditation.
Sure.
And that was 2019. And then in the middle of 2019, my late husband and I's anniversary has always been on our daughter's birthday, my first daughter's birthday. So we decided, we're no longer going to we can't celebrate it because it's always her birthday. So we decided that every time it's our anniversary, we're going to learn something new. So in 2019, we decided, and then he said, okay, you choose first what we must learn. So I said, okay, let's learn how to make gin.
Sure.
And then he was like, gin, why gin? I said, because I want to drink gin, and I want to drink gin that's made by me. I don't know Mr. Hendricks, I don't know Mr. Gordon's, I don't know Mr. whoever. Why must I drink their gin? Then we went to Cape Town for a week on our anniversary to go learn how to make gin. We came back, and the gin made sense. We tried it again, it made sense. Lo and behold, end of 2019, we registered Vuttomi Liquids.
Nice.
And that's how Vuttomi Liquids came about. And then we started off with Moringa gin, and we launched it in Russia, and it went well. Everybody liked it. And then we thought, okay, maybe there's something going on here. And then we did the coffee gin, because I love coffee and I love gin. It's always gin o'clock. So I thought, what's best way to do it? Can I have the 2-in-1 so that I can always drink them at any time that I want and not wait to be told when to drink them? And then we launched the coffee gin in Japan, in Osaka, and they loved it. And when we got there, they were like, oh, Vuttomi, is it a Japanese drink? And we were like, no. Vuttomi is a Tsonga name, and it means life. So our beverages give your body life. Yeah.
I love that.
So then came the classic gin. 2020, the 2 gins won awards, and then it was formally registered. Then we thought, well, this is no longer a side hustle. It's a serious business. And then 2021, we won awards again.
Nice.
And then last year, we also won an award. So we've just submitted again for this year.
Wow. Oh, what a mouthful.
Yeah, I asked you if you had time.
What a mouthful. However, I want to track back a little bit. You mentioned that your parents were both entrepreneurs. How was it growing up in a household full of like a mom and a dad who is self-employed? Because I know that for me as well, my own children have actually complained about time, right? Because when you are self-employed and you're working for yourself, and in most cases, you barely have time for family. It is something that I have like worked on, but how was that for you growing up with 2 parents who were entrepreneurs and they're constantly busy and they're constantly working?
It was tough. It was horrible. But I wouldn't give it up for anything, because it being horrible made sure we were what we are today.
Sure.
They were able to raise 5 kids, which I today wouldn't have been able to do, with lesser opportunities that they had. They were able to take 3 kids to private schools. They were able to take my 2 brothers varsity in the US and high school one and varsity one. And there were no overdrafts, there were no loans, there was no NEF, there was no nothing. They had to work. So I think to a certain extent, as it is part of my makeup. This is who I am. And I thank them for it, and I wouldn't ask them to change anything. And now, me being the adult, I see it, and I can understand and relate to it, because sometimes there is no other way.
Yeah.
You've got to do it.
Yeah.
And you wake up every morning. Who do you wake up for? For your kids.
Yeah.
And I guess when they decided to take us all to boarding school, it's because they could realize that one-on-one, day-to-day, they were not doing it.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
So we were raised with helpers. We had 2 helpers. We had, in those days, we would call them Majingilani. We had a guard at the gate so that nothing would be done that's not supposed to be done.
Yeah.
We couldn't climb walls.
Yeah.
We envied people that did,
Sure.
but we couldn't do it.
Is it something that you've worked on with your parents now, and you've sort of like built a relationship with them now?
Well, they've both passed on. My mom passed on when I was in standard 10.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
When I was in high school. It was, we had 3 terms. It was the April holidays. But yeah, I can say yes. Your question being, have we worked on it? Yes, we have. In her absence, in her presence, she's here. She can hear me. She knows, I know. I'm a mom now. I can relate to what she was going through. And some of the things only make sense now, what she was saying and what she was doing. And she always used to say, and this might be a swear word, but I hope they know it's not a podcast, Yarana. But she would say, you know, if you don't get up and do stuff, and I've always thought, gee, I don't want to do that.
Sure. Ooh,
Yeah.
that
So
is
you don't want-
hectic.
yeah.
That is hectic. And I'm saying that because so my dad is a entrepreneur. Yes, I was once, darling, just so you know. And my dad was never there for me emotionally, physically. He was only there for me financially. And I think as I got older, it started being a problem for me, because for me it was like, look, I get the fact that you need to go and work and you need to go and make money, and that's fine, and you're no longer with my mom anyway. So it's not like I see you on a constant. But for me...
But when I do see you...
Yeah, but when I do see you and when I do hear from you, I would like to hear, I love you, come here, let me hug you, you're my daughter, let me cuddle with you, let me just hold you. When I would call my dad, the first thing that he would say is, how much money must I send you? And I think as I started growing old, it started being offensive to me, because for me, it was like, look, I'm not looking for your money, I want your love. And I think for me, that just sort of like broke the relationship in that perspective.
A financial relationship.
Because for me, it was like, look, I'm not looking for a bank, I'm looking for a dad. So my question to you is, how has you being a provider and an entrepreneur been with your family and with your
kids?
Yes.
You know, I think this issue of time and is seriously overrated and exaggerated. I know my mom passed on and my dad raised us, and then he later on got married. But he would fetch me. We used to knock off Friday afternoon at school at 10 to 4. Now, from Rosebank to Mabopane, it took us a good an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes. And I would be in the car with him, or he would send a driver to come pick me up. But what he did is that every weekend he would work. We have a filling station, one of the first filling stations, Mabopane, and he would make us work. So I would knock off Friday. He picks me up. So I've got an hour and 45 minutes to tell him what happened the whole week. He will ask. And my dad would be one of those, when he comes to pick me up, he would say, give me a kiss in front of people.
Nice.
You know, and he would insist. If you turn the cheek, he would like, no, on your lips. And, you know, he would insist for things like that. But I don't necessarily think him working, you know, people have their reasons. And I understand your dad could have not known to hug. He was not raised to hug in the first place. he did not understand. He understood that he was the father and you would hear from him. And if this is what you want, he must just give it to you. And that's how it should be, right? And sometimes you can't blame people because that's how he was raised. He doesn't know better.
Yes.
Now, because I was raised by my dad who would demand a kiss and say, why was about a boyfriend type of thing. And then Saturday morning, I need to wake up, go to the garage, and he does the banking. I would have to count the money and him standing there. So he was on my back type of thing, like a wetsuit. And then I knock off at 3, and then I see my friends Saturday afternoon into the night. Then Sunday, I don't work, but Sunday I will go there and say, guys, can I get paid for Saturday? I was here working, type of thing. And then Sunday afternoon, I need to be brought back. Either whoever's available, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, whoever can take me back. But now things are different. I've got a chat group with my kids, and every morning I teach them. I see sometimes I lose it because I will say to my kids, bring me this, and my kids will turn around and say, good morning, mama. How did you sleep? And I'm like, good morning. And they will return it back to me and say, I said, how did you sleep? Because all the time I say to them, how did you sleep? And we've always had this routine with my late husband. They get in the car, we listen to the 702 news, and then we turn it off and say, okay, guys, enjoy your day. What's happening today? Who's coming out when? And all 3 of them, luckily for us, the schools were not far from each other. My 2 girls went back to the same school, Kingsmead. My younger son was at Predwin. From junior school, he moved. He's now at St. David's. And they've now doing their A-levels. But it has always been, in the car, it's time to talk. And coming back, they get in the car, we pick them up together. And the first thing we ask, how was your day? What happened? And then they must tell us what happened. And then we get home. And while cooking dinner, I will ask. So you said what happened? What? And then tomorrow, did they give you homework? And then we're checking all of that back and forth, back and forth. So I guess in those days, and maybe if we had a group chat then, we would have, I would post to my kids that whatever anybody sends to me, I say, today's a new day. Today's an opportunity to make something new and also learn something new. So make sure by the end of the business today, you've learned something. And by then, I'm sending one message, but I'm covering all 3 of them. And things are slightly easier because there's this WhatsApp. And I will say, guys, I'm not home. Radi's on his way. Can somebody please open for him? And they will all respond because they can all see the message. You know? So it's different situations now. It's difficult. It's not easy. I won't lie. It's not easy. And I guess if I brought them here, they would be able to say, no, she gets this wrong. The other day she burnt the oxtail because she was on the phone. But I'm only human. I can only make those mistakes and I can only learn from them. And every day I wake up and pray that I do not repeat yesterday's mistakes, that I better them and I become a better person to them.
I love that. And I think the most important thing for most people is just to be seen, right?
Correct. Presence is important. They say there isn't a relationship as best as sitting with somebody and not talking to them. You can both be on your phones, but say you're sitting together. My kids, they know. I'm always on the TV room, on my laptop, or on my phone, and they can't say I'm not there. Even if they're sitting in their bedrooms, they choose to sit on their laptops and watch movies. And they will come and say, what are you watching? And I'll say, I'm watching this. Okay, and then they walk out. So what's for dinner? And then I will tell them, while I'm cooking, I'm also watching this. And the same thing with friends. If I haven't seen friends in a while, I will call. Last night I spoke to a friend. I said to her, pour a glass of gin. I'm pouring one. Let's talk over the phone. So we had a meeting, in essence, because we were talking on the phone. I had my glass, she had her glass, and we talked for a good 45 minutes.
Talking about being seen, did you feel seen by your mom?
I think because of my character, whether I wasn't seen or not, I made sure that she felt me. I forced. I think so, because I went every weekend. I saw her at home. My mom used to have a hair salon. They had a shopping center. So the shops that were at the shopping center belonged to them. So she had a shopping center. She had a dry cleaners and a restaurant. So she would do the same. She would cook our dinner at the restaurant, bring it back to the house. And I think I made sure that every other weekend I get brought back by somebody different, so that I would spend that hour and a half coming back with somebody in the car, a different person. And and I was very naughty at school, so I would be one of those, get into trouble. There was a public phone downstairs. I'd run downstairs, call my mom first thing, and tell her, now I'm being accused of being rude.
Yeah.
And then my mom would be like, relax, they're gonna call me. When they call me, I will speak to them.
Yeah.
Don't panic. And she was just the type of woman. I remember in grade, no, not grade 8, it would be standard 7. There was a trip overseas and my dad was like, no, it's too expensive. And Sunday, I packed my stuff, going back to boarding school, and my mom was like, don't worry, you go in. And I thought, oh, this one's crazy. Because my mom was like that. She would throw her toys out the cot, you wouldn't know what hit you. So she was like, don't worry, you go in. And I thought, this one is just going to make a noise. Because my mom shouted a lot.
Okay.
And she wanted things, you know. So then I got dropped off at school on Sunday and everybody waiting for me. So are you coming? Are we going to Europe? Are you going? And I'm like, hey guys, I'm not going. I don't think I can make it. My dad says it's too much money. Then started school Monday. Monday, break time, 10 o'clock. And I get called, the headmistress wants to see me. And I'm like, hey, I'm in trouble again. And then, you know, at our school, you would stand outside the headmistress's office, but all the other kids are going past and they're all asking you,
Yeah. What did you do?
guys,
Yeah.
please, you know, standing there, I'm thinking, God, this does it. Then I'm definitely not going because now I'm in trouble on top of all of this.
Yeah.
And then the headmistress opened the door and she said, come in. And then when I walked in, my mom was there. And my dad used to wink a lot to me, you know, like, are you good?
Yeah.
You know? And then my mom winked and I'm like, hey, what's going on? My mom never winked, you know. And then the headmistress said to me, my middle name is Ruth, it's my grandmother's name. And the headmistress said to me, Ruth, would you like to take your mom to the music department? Because I played the piano. Would you like to take your mom to the music department to see Miss Maris to pay for your Europe tour? And I looked at my mom and my mom was like, what did I tell you?
Sure.
And I was like, you're staring,
Yeah.
you know? And we walked, and on our way, we walking past, there's a place called the Garth. It's like a courtyard, and we walking past, and I said to my mom, and now? And she said, just relax. I got this.
Sure.
And I remember walking next to my mom, and I'm feeling like I'm walking on air. We get to the music wing, Miss Maritz, and then they asked my mom, how are you going to pay for it? And she said, and she took out my dad's Aramex. And she said, I'll pay with the American Express card. And my mom, and I looked at her and I thought, hey, she stolen it or what? And I was confused.
What's happening?
What's happening? And I looked at my mom and the music teacher said, okay, are we going to do it straight or budget? Are you paying the full amount because you've got 6 months to pay? And my mom boldly said, all of it, all off.
Sure.
And I looked at her and I was like, are you for real? And she said, all of it, just go ahead, pay for it.
Yeah.
And the next thing, I'm going to, but after my dad would say, I'm licking my wounds for that trip of yours for Europe. But you know, we would make a joke about it. But my mom said to me, I'm going, and I went.
Sure.
And I think, and it wasn't her money, but she made sure I went.
Yeah.
And that's every day. I want to be that type of woman, that I will do anything for my kids.
Sure.
If he was going to say, yeah, you used my credit card and now this, I don't want you anymore. She was like, yeah, it's okay. But she went, you know. So I think that's why I said those certain things that happened between my mom and I, and that have made me the character that I am. And I was saying to my 2 sisters last week, I was doing a gin tasting at a golf day at the Houghton Golf Course. And kind of what were they asked? They asked me something, and I said, hey guys, I don't want to be the one standing up. And they were like, why? And they said to me, but these people know you. So I said, yeah, but every time I make up my own rules when I get to a place, and it looks like, and I feel like I'm behaving like my mom. My mom doesn't see anything wrong in parking in the middle of the road and say, no, I'm just asking a question. If you just go around, your car has got indicators, just go around. And I feel I've got a lot of that in me, and sometimes it is embarrassing, and sometimes I just feel, but why not? It can be done, why not? And sometimes my kids don't want to tell me anything because I'll go to the school and I'll be like, ha, ha, ha. right, what did you say? You know, I'm that type of person.
Sure.
Yeah, I want to get clarification. Yeah, my kids won't fight with you, but I will, because I pay a lot of money for my kids to be here.
Yeah.
So please, can you just tell me what was going on, type of thing?
Yes, yeah.
That's who I am.
Sure. Ooh.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
And sometimes you feel awkward and it embarrasses certain people. But that's who I am. What must I do? What can I do?
Sure.
So everybody that said to me, no, you can't do this gin. No, it's never been done. The coffee gin has been around. It was the only one for the past 24 months. Now there's one in Sweden. Because everybody was like, no, coffee cannot go in gin. It's like, no, but mine will. Because I want to have coffee and gin at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm that type of person. If anybody, I knock at their door and they close the door for that building, and I come back and I buy that whole building and I check you out.
Yeah.
That's
Ooh.
how I go.
Honey, come on now. So, with that character that you're talking about, do you think that you built that character at boarding school? Because I was also taken to boarding school from grade 1 until matric. And for the longest of time for me, I remember I actually didn't understand it. And for me, it was much more deeper, because for me, it felt like rejection. For me, it sort of like felt like, oh, so my mom is rejecting me because of how I look like, for example, right? For you, did you get that fighting spirit, resilience, and strength and from being there?
I think I came with it.
Okay.
Not necessarily I got it there, it was just enhanced because then it had the correct platform to do it. I mean, from standard 1, I was the only black kid in my class. It wasn't nice,
Yeah.
but I just didn't care. And then standard 2, another girl came in. There were 2 of us. Standard 3, then there were 3, and then every year there would be a black kid that would join the class, you know. But as difficult as it may be, I think when you're a kid, you don't see color, you just think you're all the same until a smart comment goes by. And because every Friday, before I could get into some type of feel sorry for yourself situation, I would get picked up. And then I go home. I come back again, refreshed, and I restart and I reset, and I come back Sunday morning, I'm ready again for the Monday. So, but can you imagine, now that you're grown, if you had a kid that looked like you?
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It cannot be easy for you, so therefore it cannot be easy for your mom. So for your mom, and I don't know her, and I'm not speaking for her, but I can just imagine every time she felt she had to say something, even though she was not asked. You know? So for somebody like that, or who felt like that, it just cannot. For whatever it takes, it's not easy. Yes, I understand it's not easy for you, but whoever brought up or gave birth to this uncomfortable situation is worse. You know, because I can imagine she's not a surgeon. She's not a plastic surgeon. She wanted to do everything that she could. And maybe the time when the boarding school situation was raised, it was when she ended up saying, I don't know what to do anymore. Because I feel like I've reached the ceiling with what I'm capable of doing. I cannot do more than what I'm able to do. And I'm not given anything better to do to improve the situation. So maybe let me step back and give this situation to somebody else who is trained to deal with it, because she's not. Because half the time we want to take on battles that we're not trained to do. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I cannot tell you how to handle your emotions. I can hardly handle mine. But if I were to give you to somebody who is trained and qualified to do that, then it will make more sense. And besides, you're going to listen to them better than listen to me, because they're trained. And we, in the society that we live in, we're given that impression because they're trained, therefore they know what they're doing. Correct?
Well, with my situation, I now know why she did what she did. And for me, now, much later on, like years later, it became such a blessing for me, because I've got one hand and I've got one finger and I can do everything myself now because I went to boarding school. You know what I mean? Had I stayed at home, I would have probably have not have learned how to do everything that I'm doing now. But I think the emotional part of it is what I wanted us to touch on, to say that taking a child to boarding school is not an easy thing. And I think with most children, they feel so rejected by their parents. And therefore, in that light, how do you then deal with it as you grow up? Obviously, now that we are much older, we now get it. But in that moment, how was it for you in that moment?
You know, I think every time I got dropped off, I was told, we love you, you must look after yourself, please stay out of trouble. And every time I got picked up, it was, how was your week? Hope it was better than the last week. So I think the reassurance of, we're not dumping you here, we love you, we want you to be exposed to better than what we can expose you to where we are, made sense over a period of time. But I find that with my son now, he's 15, the school that he goes to, St. David's, they also have a boarding school. And I've been sensitizing him and trying to introduce the issue of boarding school slowly in bite-sized portion. You know, I haven't thrown him in the deep end. I've explained to him that I really want to move to KZN. And I think me moving to KZN will improve all of our lives. So I won't be available to check on you every morning. Are your shoes tied? But I think there are people at the boarding school who are trained to do that. So what do you think of going to boarding school? Because half the time you should be at school at 6 because you've got rugby practice, and then I must pick you up at 5 or 5:30 because you had soccer, and then you were at the gym, and then, you know, if you look at 24 hours in a day, you at school 10 hours a day. So, and then 3 months back, he said to me, it's okay. It's not a bad idea because I'm all the time at school anyway. So I said, but remember, come Friday, when you shouldn't be at the school or you wouldn't be at school, you'd be let off. You would either come to Durban or I would come down on a Friday, and then when I go back Sunday, you also go back. And then he said to me, oh yeah, there's a guy, remember I told you about a friend of mine who lives in Reimsig, and you said it was far from school. He's now at boarding school. So I said, and? No, I think I can do boarding school because Nonhlanhla is in boarding school. So we haven't done it yet, but I'm sort of preparing him that it can happen. And he has welcomed it because I have not thrown him in the deep end and expected him to swim.
I get you. Yeah.
So I think that's how I was able to deal with it, with his emotion. And every time I pick him up and it's 6 o'clock in the evening, I'm like, yo, right, it's late, you know? Aren't you tired? Yeah, I just want to bath, eat, and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Now imagine you at boarding school. You would just walk across, shower, eat, and go to sleep.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to come here just to pick you up to go to sleep. You'd be here already to sleep, type of thing.
Sure.
So he sees it. So it also has a lot to do with the emotional intelligence of the kid, because we all grow differently at different times. Not one rule, one shoe fits all type of thing works. It doesn't work. Doesn't work.
Sure.
And I've probably found it better to be at school with friends, because high school, then my mom had passed on. And then I just wanted to be around people. I didn't want to be at home. And I guess then you're away from reality.
Sure. And I wanted to get to that the day you found out about your mom, where were you? And what was that conversation, and how did it affect you emotionally that day?
It was the April holidays. We have 3 terms. So we go to school January, February, March. April, a whole month, we're on holiday. And then you go back May, June, July, and then August, you're on holiday again. We're on the April holidays. I think I was at our filling station. I was working. She started being like delusioned, and she was taken to a hospital called Lodian. And then we went the next day. She was a bit better, and then she was like, no, tomorrow I'm coming. Surely I feel better, I'm okay. And then the next day, the hospital called. I think I was more confused than understanding. I'm not one of those people that would just cry and sort of, and throw a tantrum. No. I was off. A lot of things went through my mind, and I'm trying to imagine my life without her. It was a mess.
Yeah.
So I was on autopilot for, let's say, April, May, June, when I went back to school. And I think when you're a kid, I remember this one kid, I don't know how they found out, and they came up and said, no, sorry about your mom. And I thought, we were all on holiday. How did she know, And then something said to me, but is it a secret? No, it's not.
Sure.
It's not. And to a certain extent, I felt maybe that's why it happened while we were on holiday. So that I had people around me and not strangers around me. But whether I think her taking me, well, now, sorry, not then, now, I understand that I'm a big believer of everything happens for a reason. I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe that I'm here today because Big T, something major is going to happen.
Yeah.
And the reason why I didn't come, was it 2 weeks back?
Yes.
And then I went to KZN for a week, and then I came here. There was a reason why I wasn't supposed to be here then. And then they said there was load shedding. I was like, it's not load shedding. It's bigger than load shedding.
Sure.
I know why I'm not supposed to be there, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And he said to me, are you sure it's okay? You'll be able to make... So I said to him, you know what? Relax. When you guys are ready and you have time and you want to see me, I will be ready.
Sure.
The correct time will come. I don't have a problem with that.
Sure. Have you healed from the loss of your mom?
Do you ever heal? As big as I am with my big gold panties, I want my mom.
Yeah. Sure.
I need her.
Yeah.
I need her. You don't heal. I don't think you do. It's a myth of time and what those stories that time heals. No, doesn't.
Wow. Can you share with us any struggles you've had with low self-esteem and how you worked through that growing up?
I think when I thought I had low self-esteem, and that's when my mom made me take speech and drama lessons. So I did, what is it? Standard 8, ne? Standard 8 is, no, Standard 6 is Form 1. So from Standard 6, Standard 7, Standard 8, Standard 9, I did speech and drama lessons. We would, every Thursday, I would go to a special speech and drama teacher who would make you do an exam at the end of the year with the Trinity College, and then eventually you do your teacher's diploma to teach speech and drama. So every Thursday I would go there to this woman's house in Ethel, sit like this, make you do monologue, poem. She would make you do the whole lot, and then you have to stand up, do a speech. So eventually I got so used to speaking in public because of those extra lessons that I was doing. And then when we took up Standard 10 subjects, I chose speech and drama, and I did very well at it. And by the time I did matric, then I wrote my Trinity College of London, my speech and drama diploma, and I passed it. So I'm not sure, I've got anxiety issues, but it's borderline, what was your question? The self-esteem. I don't think low self-esteem has even gotten a chance to play a role in my life, because I've just sort of stepped on it and had to deal. And I thought anxiety was a bigger issue than the low self-esteem.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ooh. Have you ever reached a point where like you feel like I can't always step, on things, and I have to sort of like deal with them because at some point they will sort of like creep up again?
I guess yes. Death. But I mean, I remember at school we did this, well, I can't remember if it was Shakespeare or who, but the poem said, death will lay its icy hands on kings. And I'm not a king. Yes, sometimes a king is a woman, but I'm not a king. But death will lay its icy hands on them.
Sure.
Doesn't care. It's gonna come.
And you have unfortunately faced a lot of loss in your life.
Yeah.
It's been your mom, and then your
My
husband.
dad, and then my husband, yeah.
Sure, that's hectic. How and when did you hear about your husband's death, and how did that affect you, considering the fact that you've already lost your mom and you've lost your dad and now you're losing your husband? It's just like, why? Like, so many people whom I love and I cherish and I just depend on, really, are now all leaving me.
You know, in the beginning, and maybe this might sound weird, but I've been on autopilot since he passed on, which was the 20th of December 2020. I think that autopilot is about a snap. In the beginning, it's a thing of why? But like I said, everything happens for a reason. And I went and saw somebody who's a medium who talks to dead people. And she explained it to me that, you know, we all have a contract and we all have signed a life contract. We agree that on such and such a day, we're going to come to earth, and on such and such a day, we're going to leave. When it gets given to us, we agree to it, but when the time arrives, we don't want to go. But having said that, I've also learned that I was always being prepared. As weird as it may seem, because I was asked to, for example, explain what has happened in the past 2 years. And I thought, what the heck? What are these people asking me? What is the relevance? And when I look at it, I went to Japan alone, and I always used to go with my husband anyway. The only place we didn't go together was probably to the driver's seat, because I hate driving, and I would just make him drive. But we would go to the loo together and wait for the other to finish so that the next one can go to the loo. But when it was explained to me that I went to Russia alone and I went to Japan alone, and he went to Kuwait beginning of 2020 and he went to Qatar alone, it was explained to me that he was teaching me to be alone. And now I understand. But at the time, I thought they're just talking nonsense and I don't understand what this is all about. So the coincidence that happened before the death was the preparation. You never just left unprepared. But because we're human beings and we flesh and blood, we don't understand that, and we don't. I guess we could understand it, but we don't want to understand it because it doesn't make sense. And the minute you understand, it seems like you're comfortable with the situation.
Sure.
Or the minute you understand, it seems like you've given up. So there's always this fight inside you, back and forth, of reality and not reality. But I truly believe I've had ample time to be prepared. I just didn't see it. And it's nobody's fault because he couldn't have said to me, I'm going to leave. That's not how it happens. I should have also read between the lines that at some point, this is going to end. Nothing lasts forever. But when he did pass on, it was at our house, and it was during COVID. And we've got in the TV room, we've got a big ottoman. I think it starts from this wall to that camera there. It's a big, big ottoman. It's like two double beds put together. And during COVID, we would sleep there because we would watch movies, sit in there, and do everything in there. And we slept on that bed. And early hours of the morning, 3 days before, he complained that he had a stomach pain. And then I said, okay, let's go to the doctor. And he said, no. I said, let's go to the hospital. He said, no, he's scared he'll get COVID. And then on the Friday, I said to him, I think I must go to the pharmacist. And he said, no, don't go. And I was like, why? Are you scared of dying? He said, no, just sit here and just rub my stomach. And I thought this was weird. And I said to him, but we need to tell him what's wrong with you. And he said, you can tell him, ka phone. When I just sit here and sit with me. And then I had my phone. And he said, put away your phone and concentrate on the rubbing. And I was rubbing his stomach, and I thought, this is very weird. And I said, no, but I'm trying to call the pharmacist. He says, I just leave him. And then on the Saturday, we went out for dinner, and he only had soup. When we came back the Saturday evening, we went to sleep, and he said, yo, I'm tired, let's go to sleep. And then he said, no, thanks for looking after me. And I said, for what? And he said, no, today you were checking how my stomach is. And then we went to sleep. Early hours of Sunday morning, 3 a.m., it was as if he's having a nightmare. And then I woke up and I said, you're scaring me. And he said, yo, he's dreaming that people are pulling him into a hole. And he says, oh, just as well you woke me up. I need the loo. And he went to the loo, came back, and he said, there's nothing. Let's go to sleep. Please, let's go to sleep. And we went back to sleep, probably an hour later, because you cannot measure time, early hours of the morning when you're half asleep. He had the same episode, and then I tried to wake him up, and then he just slumped. And he didn't wake up.
Sure. No, you said that there's no healing from death. How has the journey been like for you since you've lost him?
It's been tough. It's been unreal. I mean, you get all those different 5 emotions. You can have them in 1 hour, literally. It's been a mess. A fine mess, though. A fine mess.
And what helps you wake up every single day?
I think when I wake up and I think I've got 3 kids,
Sure.
and I tell myself that, you know, I'm still here, and I said I'll be his better half, so I've got to keep going and finish what we started. And knowing that he'll make sure that that day goes through, I get up. And I leave the rest to him and God.
And the fact that you've always been such a fighter and so resilient growing up, do you think that that has helped you now when you feel like I can't even keep on moving, but I have to because of my little babies?
I think it does, but sometimes I'm like, guys, whatever's going to break today must break into small little pieces. And if I find the super glue, I will stick it back together because that's who I am. But I get to a point sometimes where I'm like, I just don't care. But it's also difficult because of my character. An hour later, I will pull myself towards myself and say, in fact, I'm not a fixer. So I'm not going to pull those pieces together. I'm just going to avoid. And I carry on.
What advice would you give to someone who's struggling with self-doubt or self-criticism, especially in business?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because it also has to do with upbringing, mindset. But I would say, you know, there's nobody that knows your capabilities except you. Excuse me. So the minute you're in doubt, it simply means your subconscious mind is talking to you and saying, maybe step back, relook at it. Maybe you're not built for this. Maybe you could do this differently because the answers are always right under our nose, but we just never know that they're there. So I would say to that person to look in the mirror and say, you know what, can I do this? Am I made for this? Am I equipped for this? And if I am, and if the answers tick yes, then dust yourself, get up, and carry on.
Sure.
Yeah.
You spoke about the fact that, you know, everything happens for a reason. Have you read a book by Rick Warren called The Purpose-Driven Life book?
No.
The book basically talks about that. You know, it talks about how every single thing in life happens for a certain purpose, and you sort of need to know your purpose to sort of like get to know why certain things happened. One, have you found your purpose? And 2, do you know why certain things have happened, you know, in your life, especially loss?
Yeah, I think specifically with loss, when I lost my mom, I was like, this is never going to happen again. And then it happens again. Because maybe I didn't deal with it. Remember, the repeat part of it happens only if you didn't deal with it properly. But I also learned and understood that when it happened with my husband, it was for a specific reason, that he just felt he'd be more useful on the other side. He felt that what I needed on earth needed to be done somewhere else. And not him being here and presently here, but presently somewhere else. Because I felt like there were a lot of things that I was trying to do and they were not moving. And every time it was just bashing my head against the wall. And then I understood that, he felt the only way to help me get out of this rut is for it's a sacrifice. And he felt he would be more useful being there.
Sure. Have you found your purpose?
Oh, yes. Ever since I've been growing up, I've just been that type of person. I want to help the person next to me, and I want to make sure that everybody's comfortable around me. And I'm a serious empath. People may not think it, and people looking at me may not see it. A lot of people say, oh, but she does not act like a Christian. But God does not want actors. He wants realists.
Come on.
He doesn't want actors. So what people see and what I do are probably two different things, and sometimes very confusing. Because people think I'm very social, but actually I'm not. I prefer a lot of alone time, because that's when I can sit alone and ask myself questions and reflect and reset the button and restart the whole process all over again. And I enjoy being by myself. I go to coffee by myself and I talk to myself a lot. And somebody laughed last week, and I said to them, please, if you find me talking to myself, please don't interrupt. We're having a board meeting, a staff meeting. I'm talking to my staff.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want honest answers. So I will talk to myself because I want real answers. I don't want wishy-washy answers. And I find if you do that more often, you also get to realize what is your purpose. If you don't, the buzzing of the world will get too much. You won't understand your purpose. My niece always says, yeah, you're always giving people ideas, and then they walk away and they never come back to you. So and I said to her, but that's who I am, and I'm not going to change because they didn't come back to me, or they didn't come, or they hardly said thank you. That's on them.
Yes.
The idea is on me.
Yeah.
The manners are on them, not on me.
Yeah.
I did what I'm supposed to do. So if you're going to take what I did and shove it down the drain or do whatever with it, I cannot be responsible for that.
Sure. With your hectic schedule and every single thing that you have been through, how do you take care of yourself, and what does self-care Nani Day look like?
I don't work on Fridays. I don't. I refuse. Because I feel I've been working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday, I can't think anymore because I've overthink, if there's such a word. I've done what I could with the week. So Friday, I don't concentrate. I start off, I go out for breakfast, I go out for lunch, and I'll go out for dinner. And I refuse to talk work. I would rather Saturday morning do 2 hours of work. But Friday, I don't, because I'm useless. I can't do anything. I just want to talk nonsense and drink and talk and laugh. I don't want to talk work.
Yeah. And what are the failures that you cherish the most?
I wouldn't say I cherish, but procrastinating, I procrastinate a lot, but I don't cherish it. It's not a nice thing to be doing. It's incorrect. And I shout at myself every day, but I do it every day. Because I keep thinking, I've got time, I'll do this later, and it always gets me into trouble.
Do you celebrate yourself?
Oh, yeah. As in, do I have a specific time where I celebrate myself every hour?
Sure.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that for us.
when we finish here, I'm going to celebrate myself and say, well done, you did a good job of that interview. Whether you thought so or not, I think I did my best with what I had.
Yeah.
And I celebrate myself all the time. I congratulate myself at the end of the day and say, well done, you did the best you could. Even though you had tears rolling down your eyes, but you did it, and it's over. The day is over now. Tomorrow, try and not have those tears. Yeah, I don't forget to celebrate. I think it's important because it's that little voice. So I don't call it cheering. I call it, I've got cheerleaders, and they're singing in the background saying, well done, go, 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 go. Yeah.
I love that because most of us, we like celebrating others, and we tend to not celebrate ourselves. And I think we tend to focus on what went wrong that day instead of saying, this is what went right, and I'm so proud of myself, and I'm so happy. And I think quite recently, I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was saying to her that we are always so merciful and compassionate towards others, our children, our family members, our friends, and so forth, but we are rarely merciful to ourselves.
Yeah.
And we are really kinder to us. And like what you're saying now, that I was crying, so let's try not do that tomorrow. Why not? It is who you are. That's what you want to do in that moment. Let us be merciful to us and actually say, you know what? I want to cry now. And that's okay. And there's power in crying. You know that? There's power in knowing what you're feeling and how you want to deal with it. And therefore, you are moving forward instead of regressing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? How have you been merciful to yourself, if you have? And is it something that you need to do more?
I think I need to do it more. I find I'm more merciful to other people more than myself. I'll always make up excuses for people and say, she did that because of this.
Yeah.
And I will even go to an extent where I elaborate and say, people are going through a lot. She must have been going through, and make up stories, And sometimes I think it's incorrect, but that's who I am. That's who I am.
Sure. Ooh, are you happy, Nani?
With
yourself, with your journey, with where you are in life right now, with what you want in life, with your purpose, with family, with your kids?
Yes, I'm happy. Always, there's room for improvement. I could be at a better space. There are a lot of things that I could have done, and but I've also learned, that could have, should have, would have.
Yeah.
Also, is for a reason. Because now I believe that everything happens for a reason, and things didn't happen for a reason, and bigger things will happen for a reason. So I do not have those could have, should have, would have anymore.
Sure.
But earlier on in life, I did have. But I've understood and I've experienced the could have, should have, would have. And they're not always the answers.
And when did that transformation happen for you? Like where you were just you know
what? I've always had an NGO, and I've never done anything with it. My NGO was registered in 2010, and I've always thought, once I get to a certain age, when I hit 50, I want to run an NGO and not be hustling and bustling. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I just want to listen to people and listen to their problems and see how they can be solved. And then, boom, 2020, my husband died. And then I decided I'm going to change the name of that NPO to his name. And then it took me a good 6 months trying to understand what should the NGO do. And then I thought, you know what, why doesn't it deal with me first? And so the NGO currently deals with people that have gone through trauma. So then I thought, okay, what have I dealt with? Trauma. What have we just been through? So according to me, I think the whole world needs counseling. We've all been traumatized with COVID. We all deal with it differently. Some people will call it a flu, some people, whatever you want to call it. But it is traumatic, bottom line. So then I thought, okay, I think I know what I'm doing. I think I've realized how to go about this. So the NGO is going to deal with people that have gone through trauma. Doesn't matter what trauma it is. And I think at that point, that's when I realized.
Sure.
And I could have used that NGO long ago. I could have used it for something else, but I hadn't. And I think it was just waiting for the right time to do it. And it sort of like, everything fell into a place like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Because then the vehicle was there, the reason was there, the cause was there, the way how to, everything was just there. And then it just went.
Sure. If you could go back in time and fix a regret that you have in your life, where would you go?
You know, I have an answer for that, but I cannot give it to you because of the past 24 months, because I'm stuck on everything happened for a reason. So why would I want to go fix it if it had to happen and it wasn't benefit for something else that's coming?
Sure.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So I really wouldn't change anything. Everything is just the way that's supposed to be. And that's why it happened. Otherwise it wouldn't have.
Yeah, it wouldn't have. If you had 60 seconds call from someone, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you say?
Alive, I would call them myself. Dead, I would do a conference call. I would call a conference call my grandmother, who I'm named after, Ruth, my dad, my mom, and my husband. I would call them up and would say hi. Modern day Ruth speaking. And can you guys tell me, how have I not done what you want me to do? I think it's important to me to hear from them, to say that I'm doing the right thing. And that's 60 seconds I would want to hear. Each one must tell me if I'm doing the right things.
Sure.
And then after that call, I will see how I can fix what they're saying I'm not doing right, or if they're saying I'm doing right, then I would have to fix nothing.
I'd like to say that I think you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
I think you're an amazing human being. And I think your light is going to shine so bright. And it's already shining.
Yeah.
And from one candle that has been lit already, I'd like to lit yours.
Thank
and
you.
I'd like to say, keep shining.
Thank you. And I see your light.
Yeah.
It's the wind is trying to blow it, but it's not going away.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that light.
Sure.
And I think you must just keep going.
Yeah.
And don't move your foot from the pedal.
Right? I've got the last segment for you on your perspective on different things. One, what is your perspective on spirituality?
Why do you ask such questions? Spirituality. I don't know. Why? What are you expecting to hear? I think everybody's spiritual. We all just don't know it. We all at different levels because some get enhanced and some suppress it. But we're all spiritual.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to understand that God does not have a religion. He's very spiritual. And that's why all these little religions have popped up. But I also think it's very naive to think that there is no God. Very naive.
Sure. What is your perspective on freedom?
Yeah. Absolute freedom corrupts. I think with anything, freedom comes with responsibility. Without responsibility, it's as good as not having it.
Sure. What is your perspective on power?
Your power, ne? I think power has a lot to do with your level of maturity. It can go south, it can go north, depending on the individual that has been given the power. And it's also important to understand that we're all powerful in our own right.
Ooh. What is your perspective on entrepreneurship in South Africa?
Jeez. As who comes up with these questions? Entrepreneurship. Oh, wow. Entrepreneurship. What a word. I think it's important to understand being self-employed and working for yourself. It's a very thin line, but not everybody understands it.
Yeah.
And people think working for yourself is easy, and they misunderstand it for being self-employed.
Sure.
But it's not easy. It's tough. You literally have to have those big gold panties day in, day out. And it's not a single man show. It's not a one-man band. And I know I also sometimes do those mistakes. I wake up in the middle of the night and I have an idea. And I think it's a business. But nothing is a business until it equates to money.
Sure.
My dad once said to me, how's the property business going? And I was like, it's going, but it's very slow. And I had just bought the franchise here, Fine and Country. And my dad said to me, I will never forget this. And he said to me, if you start business on the 1st and you don't get paid on the 30th, then you're not in business.
Sure.
Because your kids want food every day. They're not going to wait for you to make the money in 4 years. So the story of business plan, I can't relate to it. Business is now. It's not in 4 years' time.
Yeah.
What are you eating in the 4 years?
Exactly.
What are you living on in the 4 years? Your house is being repossessed. Your car is being repossessed in the 4 years. And you're waiting for this business plan to make sense.
Oh, my God. All right. Nani, I'd like you to please take this mirror.
Mirror.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. I was wondering what this mirror is for.
And I'm going to ask you a question.
Mirror on the wall.
Who's the prettiest in the world?
Well, as long as we all know that Cinderella was not looking for a prince that night.
Come on now. Nani, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see?
I see strong, unbreakable, gentle, not as a flower, but gentle as a bomb, fragile as a bomb. And I see endless possibilities.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Guys. All this for this mirror. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Nani, congratulations on an award-winning journey.
Yes.
You are doing absolutely amazing.
Thank you,
And
thank
keep shining.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys, for your time.
So from me and the team, Nani, once again, keep shining.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And well done to you guys. And I appreciate the time and I appreciate the exposure. And it's not every day that you get called and asked to come in for an interview and you sit next to a beautiful lady like you. And she asks the relevant questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. And from me, Mrs. Sekhu-Pedi,
Push
keep your
pause, no one push
perspective.
play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capped in space. I won't stop till I hear him say, oh, oh.